Hello and welcome to a new video. In cooperation with ReiseJung, we're taking a look at the first 2 days on board of the Monarch Countess. For the first time ever with ReiseJung, we are on a cruise that is completely not in Germany. We've been on the Danube before, but we started in Germany, and now for the first time we're completely in France. We're starting in Paris, and our first destination is Les Andelys. And we are starting in Germany with our buses. We had the bus to Paris included from Bruchköbel, Maintal and Hanau, and now we're on our way to France. We overtook a Google Street View car, then we overtook Mr. Bean, and then we've reached the border, left Germany, and now we're in France. In France you have to pay toll for the highway, so here we have one of the toll booths, and then we're continuing on through a very boring landscape. This is one of the most boring highways I've ever seen. Here I've included the more interesting parts, but usually you just see fields for kilometers and kilometers, so it is not a very interesting ride, but it will get more interesting when you reach Paris and you have the city traffic of Paris, which can be extreme, but we were lucky there was not too much traffic, so we got to the ship from Hanau in around 8 hours, which is a pretty good time, and around 4 o'clock we boarded the beautiful Monarch Countess that I've showed you in the last video, and here you can see my beautiful cabin. As always with ReiseJung, I got a cabin that wasn't sold, so I got the last cabin on the upper deck, but I really enjoy sleeping with engine noises, can sleep even better than in a very quiet cabin, so that was the perfect cabin for me. And the cabin itself was also very nice, a lot of storage space, a big wardrobe, a big desk with additional storage, a nice and comfy bed, proper chair, there's also a fridge, a safe, a lot of space, of course a French balcony, and also the bathroom is very nice. We're going to take a look at that in a second. Next to the bed we have additional storage into nightstands. On one side there's also a power socket behind the curtain, so you need to know that there's a power socket. And now we can take a look into the bathroom, which is also designed very nicely, a lot of space, a lot of storage. So in general a very nice cabin, one of my favorite cabins on a river cruise ship. And then also the second bus that took a bit longer arrived, so I also greeted the guests from the second bus. And then it was time, as soon as everybody checked in, to leave Paris. Firstly, we're heading upstream a bit further to, of course, the most famous side of Paris, and that, of course, is the Eiffel Tower. There were some low bridges on our way. The front part of the sun deck remained open, you just had to be very careful. The rear part had to be closed, we will see that in a second. Here you can see how low the bridges are, but of course a lot of guests were up on the sun deck to see the Eiffel Tower, of course a symbol of France, and so that was a very nice start of the cruise. We're now heading to the Statue of Liberty, which is a smaller version of the one in New York, which is of French origin, and there we turned around, and then we're continuing in the right direction, heading downstream to our first stop in Les Andelys. We boarded the ship in Issy-les-Moulineaux. This is not Paris, even though everybody would consider it Paris, but officially Paris itself is just the inner circle of the city, and all parts around the city are considered own cities, but everybody would just call it Paris. But officially we were not in Paris, but the place where we turned around was in Paris, but now we're sailing through the cities around Paris for a couple of hours, and then we're leaving the city. In the meantime, we enjoyed the first nice dinner on board. Food quality was very good, was really enjoyable. They even tried to include some French dishes, so that was a very nice start of the cruise. And on the second day when I woke up, we were docking in Les Andelys, which is a small city consisting of two parts, Le Petit Andelys and Le Grand Andelys. We were docked in the small Andelys, Le Petit Andelys, and from there we started our excursion by bus. We were first heading out of Les Andelys, heading to a small village called Lyons-la-Forêt, which is considered to be one of the most beautiful villages in France. As soon as you leave the Seine valley, you're getting back to the boring fields, but every now and then you got some nice villages in between with beautiful churches and other beautiful buildings. And then slowly we're getting closer to Lyons-la-Forêt, and there we have beautiful forest, which is giving the name to the city. And in France there is like a little competition from all the villages. The more beautiful beautiful your village is decorated, the more flowers you have, the more flowers you can get as a reward. And 4 flowers is the highest rate you can get, and Lyons-la-Forêt is one of the few villages with 4 flowers. So as you can see, it is an extremely beautiful little village. It's very small. Take about 1 hour to see everything and drink a nice coffee. That's exactly what we did. Walked through the little village, discovered its beauty, and then we went to the central place where is the small market hall, and there are also a few nice cafes, and there I had one of the best croissants I ever had in my life because it was still fresh from the oven, still warm. It was amazing here at the Restaurant de la Halle. There are also some small shops that look exactly how you would expect a shop in France, and then we continued through this beautiful forest on to Les Andelys again, but it was not the end of the excursion because there is one thing that Les Andelys is very famous for. It's not this church here, even though it's very beautiful, Church of Notre Dame, Le Grand Andelys. No, it is the Château Gaillard. Château is French, means castle. There are a lot of castles on the Seine, and Château Gaillard is one of the most famous ones. It is a ruin, but it has a very, very important history, so make sure to check it out if you're interested in history. And our excursion had 2 options. You could either just take a picture from the distance and take the bus back down to the ship, or you can walk to the castle and then walk back down to the ship. Of course, we walked to the castle, took a look at the ruins, and also this place is not only famous for the chateau, it's also famous for the amazing view. The view you're gonna see in a second is a view that you will find on almost every catalog in the internet whenever you search for a cruise of the Seine. Most probably you will see a picture like this of the ship in front of the rocks of Les Andelys, and this picture has always been done from the Château Gaillard. So that's why, of course, I also wanted to go there, take some nice videos and pictures of the ship, and then we walk back down into the city center. It takes just about 10 minutes. And during lunchtime we headed back on board our beautiful Monarch Countess, enjoyed fantastic lunch on board. Lunch is served in form of a salad buffet and the rest is served at a table. Also here the food quality was amazing. I would say you get the food you would expect from a river cruise ship, but it was always with a very nice taste, so it was very, very good, and we really enjoyed dining on board. After lunch we left Les Andelys, headed first upstream, turned around an island called Ile de Château, and now we're heading downstream again to our next destination, which will be Le Havre, which is already the end of the river Seine. We're now sailing past the famous rocks of Les Andelys, and we're now sailing also on the most beautiful part of the river Seine, so that's also the reason why we are sailing during the day. On our way back we have more stops, and this cruise is quite untypical for ReiseJung, as we are sailing a lot in the night, staying quite long in the ports. That's of course because we've never been here. It's the first time we are on the river Seine, and therefore we haven't seen all the major tourist sites, so we need a lot of time in the ports to see all the main tourist sites. When we are sailing for second or third time on the river, we sometimes skip some major tourist attractions we've already offered as an excursion, or we have the excursion together with a different one. When we know that most of our guests have already seen the major tourist attraction, then we try to find something else for our repeaters. But this time it was the first time for everybody, so of course we have to see the major tourist attractions, therefore we need a lot of time, and that's why we're sailing a lot in the night. But of course we had to see the most beautiful part of the Seine during the day. We're now heading in the direction of Rouen. We're gonna pass Rouen during dinner. Here we are already shortly before reaching Rouen, the city of Elbeuf, and in the night we are then continuing on to Le Havre. Here we can see some more of these beautiful rocks that are quite typical for the river Seine, and then it was time for dinner. Dinner was fantastic. Again, the food quality, as I mentioned before, is very good on the Monarch Countess. We really enjoyed the food on board, and whilst I was enjoying my dinner, I was also checking marine traffic, because after Rouen you can also meet some ocean ships. But instead of an ocean ship, we were coming along something very interesting. As you can see, this is a sailing regatta, and they will be starting a race a few weeks after this moment from Rouen, heading to the ocean over the river Seine and this was the moment all of those ships arrived into Rouen. All of the ships are the same, so it's a quite interesting competition, and I was very lucky that I by chance checked marine traffic before passing those ships. In the evening, our musician Rainer Paul was singing for us. We had a nice evening, and then it was time to go to sleep. And in the next video you will see day 3 on board of the Monarch Countess. Here you can see when this video will be uploaded and the name of the song as always. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to comment, like, subscribe or share the video link, and I hope to see you in my next video then.